Welcome to the iPhoneography podcast. This is episode 156, and today we are going to talk about the iPhone 17 Pro Max. We're going to be Team Orange. So, as you can tell, lots of orange lights, and orange phone. So, the reason we are live a day later than normal is because I had an anniversary event to go to yesterday, and so here we are today, and I really appreciate these guys for coming in, a day later and rearranging their schedules. Hey, Dave and Dwight, how you doing?
Good,
Doing
Greg.
good, great.
Good,
Hey,
good.
Dave.
So we got some, bullet points here that we're going to go through, and we're going to just these are going to be our initial experiences with the 17 Pro Max, and Dwight and I have the phone, and Dave, he's on the 16 Pro Max, so he's going to be our question asker, and so we're gonna talk about what works, what doesn't work, what we like, what we don't like. Then we're gonna we're also gonna give like a anything that surprises us or whatever about the device, and then we will look at some photos, and we've got like 16 pictures to look at. So this is going to be a very visual audio podcast. And if you're listening on your podcast player, don't forget to have a boo at the screen when we get these pictures up. And I know they're going to be small on the podcast player. They're going to be under resolution or whatever, downsized for YouTube. So when this podcast goes live on the audio player tomorrow morning, at some point tomorrow, I will put the pictures on our Facebook page under this episode, and you'll be able to have a better look at them. So be sure to do that. And even if you want to listen along on the audio and then check out the pictures as you go, that's probably a good way to do it too. So, okay. So Dwight, we are both Team Cosmic Orange. And Aaron Zolo did a poll on X and asked people if they were getting the Pro, what were they going to get? And most of them, like 52%, I think it was, said silver, which I find very odd.
It's a neutral color.
Yeah, it's a neutral color.
Yeah, especially if they're getting it for like even work related or anything professional related.
Yeah,
I could see that. I could see that because you really don't want to stand out.
Yeah, but I'm surprised the blue didn't outsell that, or in the poll. I mean, who knows what the real numbers are for sales, but but anyway, I think the orange is a really cool color. I think it's a fun color. People wanted, over the years, I've heard a lot of people say they'd like to see a more bold or a fun color in the Pro phones, and so in an interview with the guy from Tom's Guide. And I forget the other guy's name. Anyway, there was a YouTube video where there was a two-part interview between the two channels of these guys, and they had Greg Joswiak, is that it? Joswiak, and who was the other one? Anyway, two of the big guys that they do the keynotes. They were saying, hey, people wanted a bold color, so here you go, you got orange. So that's probably the reason why they put it out in the orange. But anyway, so Dwight, when you took it out of the box, what'd you think?
It was different. I usually have a neutral color. However, 2 years ago, I as well had the blue, I think 15 Pro Max. I kind of like that color. I've been kind of into orange lately with the orange watch bands and that kind of stuff with my Ultra. And I thought it was a nice change. I mean, it was different. It was bold. It was, not as conservative, I think, as my work iPhone. But I like the change. Unfortunately, the case covers most of it. So the actual color you only get on the back and the upper panel there where the camera and sensors are. But yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and I really wanted to get the clear case, but they put that great big white patch on there, and that just ticks me off. But
Now, Greg, I did get a
anyway,
clear case, a third party, and the Apple logo was mismatched with the one on the phone, because on the phone it's down farther because they centered it on this on the cutout on the bottom, and then the case manufacturer had it set in the middle of the phone the way it looks now.
oh
So there was
really?
an offset. Yeah, so I sent that one back.
Uh, yeah, that's interesting. Um, let's see here. So when I took it out, I thought, yeah, this is really cool. I thought this is nice. This is a nice orange. Um, one thing that I've been hearing and actually seeing on YouTube is that this aluminum may not wear very well. Uh, it can be scratched easily. I've seen people have already chipped the corners of their phones. Um, so I'm going to keep the case on probably most of the time, but I do
I
like to take the case off once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Greg, let me just bring a little something up. These are a lot of people who are reviewers who always go with the pro model. So they're coming from titanium or stainless. And aluminum is a much softer metal. So if you're used to dropping it a certain way and not being, dented, that is one of the it sounds kind of weird. One of the strengths of aluminum is it is malleable. So it will bend a little bit without cracking or breaking, which is kind of a positive thing in a way. But yeah, aluminum's not as tough
Yeah.
as other materials. I mean, they
Yeah.
they picked aluminum because partially I think well they will tell you for the thermal properties, because it is much better thermally, but also aluminum's cheaper and
And
lighter.
Yeah.
cheaper
Yeah.
and cheaper to machine.
And
But the
yeah,
other
Machining
exactly.
the
titanium
other
is
thing,
very, very tough.
yeah, but the other thing was too is that the finish on these things isn't as robust as it was, say, last year. Now the glass, the ceramic shield 2 is pretty robust, I think.
Mhm.
But the aluminum itself, like the orange coloring or blue or silver or whatever you're getting, apparently doesn't hold up well, especially like around the edges of the camera plateau. Like it could scratch off pretty easily, apparently.
So if you're
According to
putting
these,
it in and out of your pocket, you're going to want to have protection on that, probably.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. But but
And I would say maybe even look for a case, and I don't know if you have, maybe look for something non-Apple that has a little extra ridges around that.
yeah, I've seen
Hopefully not.
some.
Yeah, some of them
Yeah,
look like they have a little more ridge, especially around the lenses, where that'll give you a little bit of extra protection.
yeah, yeah, and I've seen some of them advertised. Like there was one that was pretty cool. It had a chrome ring around here, but it popped open, and you can use it like as a stand.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to buy all these different cases.
Oh no, 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 no,
you know,
no.
but so the tech woven case itself is pretty rough. I think so. The fine woven case, it didn't stand very well at all. Um, hang on, Dwight. I'll put you full screen, and you can hold that up again. The fine woven
Mhm.
case, it wore out pretty quick. Well, a year later, you could see a lot of wear on it, and this one here will wear out your pocket material, I think, before it wears out. It's pretty robust. Like I seen guys on YouTube try to take a key or something like that and scrape it, and it didn't really do anything. I've got a little Apexel, I think it is, 200 times little macro lens thing that goes on the
Mhm.
phone, and I took a picture of this to see what it looked like. And believe it or not, there is. Let me see if I can pull up the picture. There's blue in it to make the colors. It's pretty crazy.
Could be blue and red.
There it is there. It is blue, a light orange, a purple, and almost like a black.
Okay, so that's how
Put the
you're
thing
getting
down
more
there, speed.
dimensional color than
Well,
otherwise.
it's weird how those colors make the color of this case. And but when I think of I think we lost Dave.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm just.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to do this while you were talking. I just noticed my camera seemed to be like super zoomed into my face.
Oh, okay.
So I just was double checking that since I was using my phone.
Oh, all right. But yeah, I mean, as an offset printer who like the printing of magazines and stuff like that, you'd be surprised at what colors are in something like a brown like that.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
But
Greg,
anyway,
out of curiosity, do you have your 16 Pro Max there as well still?
it's my camera right now.
I am weighing the two out, and I can't tell the difference. This is the aluminum's supposed to be lighter. I almost want to say
Now,
it's heavier.
you have a case on both,
Yes.
and
That
it
could
looks
make
to me
The
like
cases are, I would say the case on my Pro Max is probably a little bit heavier. It's leather, and really the weight.
oh yeah.
I have a scale, and I will weigh them later, but I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, I didn't really tell, I did that too. I did the whole one in each hand test to see what they would be like, and I couldn't really tell too much of a difference. I mean, if it's just merely grams, then
Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell.
yeah. So Dwight, you obviously held it without the case? How did it feel in your hands? Like, did it feel comfortable? Uncomfortable, indifferent, but compared to say the 16?
It was indifferent. I don't take my phones out of the case very often. As a matter of fact, when I unboxed it, the first thing I did was put it in a case for fear of dropping it. And yeah, it felt like any other phone that I've had. I didn't analyze that piece of it as much, but it did feel good in the hand.
Yeah, I agree. I just the only reason I brought this part of it up is because I've heard some people online say that, oh, it feels so much better in the hand around her than the 16, but I didn't really notice that much of a difference. So I just wonder what you thought of that. Okay, so anything really surprised you? There's things that you weren't expecting from the phone?
Not aesthetically, other than the color. I think we can get into a little bit more of that, in the functionality of the cameras when we get to that
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
But nothing, to me, it's very similar to my 16 Pro Max in orange by looking
Yeah.
at it with a different camera bump.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same here. I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me was the fact that the color was nice and bold. Just a nice change from the Pro phones of yesteryear. I thought that the Desert Titanium was a bold change. Not really though, because they had like white and creamy color ones like that before, I think. And I was that close to getting the blue. I almost got the blue one, but I'm glad I got the orange. I was happy with it. Okay, so likes and dislikes. Some of the points that I made were, the color, obviously, the speed of the phone. It's pretty robust in speed. I like the telephoto. We'll get into that as we go. The front-facing camera. We don't have any photo samples from that, but in my couple of times that I have tried it, it's pretty good. It's really good. And the feature where you can change the orientation with just the tap of the screen is pretty cool. And then overall image quality, I think it's definitely improved, even over the 16 Pro Max. So I mean, that's pixel peeping, but it's a fact, I think. Dwight, any likes or dislikes on your side?
Well, I'm gonna have to take your word on the front-facing camera. I didn't test that. I'm not really much of a selfie
No, I'm not either.
guy. maybe it'll, if we do the dual cameras for video, which I do rarely, I think that would be, a nice feature. Image quality, we'll get into that a little bit more. I don't see
Yeah.
a whole huge difference, in my opinion, so far.
Yeah. So we're going to go to the chat room here in a minute, but I just want to cover a couple of dislikes that I've discovered. One of them is portrait info is not retained on a 48 megapixel shot. And I thought there was something like I thought it was a bug or something like that until I actually just tested it about an hour ago. I tested uh, the main camera in portrait mode, and I just held it out, with the cameras facing me, and then took a shot. I did that with the setting at 24 megapixel and the setting at 48 megapixel, and the 24 retained the portrait mode info. The 48 did not. So it's obviously it's got something to do with all the magic that goes on behind the scenes or something like that. So kind of a bummer that it doesn't do it in 48 megapixel.
And
And
Greg, quick dumb question. You were in height for both, right?
yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you didn't, when you switched to 48, you didn't switch it to raw.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I've been shooting in HEIF for most of the time that I've had this so far because of the photographic styles, and we'll talk about that in a bit too here. The only other thing was, and I could wait to bring this up, but I'll bring it up now anyway, and we'll discuss it here also in a little bit. Is it was hit and miss on focusing when I tried some Astro stuff. I went out to a place. Now the light pollution map said it was Bortle 4. I don't know. It was pretty darn dark where I was. And the sky was just full of stars. There was no moon, nothing to interfere. And usually you tap on a star and the camera focuses. I got to tell you, and there was no dew. The cameras weren't hazed over or nothing like that from dew or dampness or anything. But I tap on the stars and it failed to focus a couple times. And I think Shane Mostyn's video, I think he talks about this too. And he has the 17, just the regular 17. He didn't go for the Pro this time. When it focused, it was great. But sometimes it just had I don't know why it wouldn't focus. So I'm hoping they fix that in an update. But that was my other dislike. So the portrait mode not at 48, and then the hit and miss on the focusing on the stars. So
hey Greg,
right.
I have a quick question for you. Back on the
Yep.
portrait info not retained.
Mhm.
Did you try it in Pro Max as well?
You know what? I didn't. So I will have to try that.
If your dog walks in, maybe you can try that.
Yeah. Well, I don't. They just had their supper, so they're probably sleeping now.
There you
but
go.
but yeah, I'll try that. I'll try that
Yeah.
when we get off the air here, and if it works, then I'll put it on the Facebook group or something. I'll definitely let you guys know right away. That's interesting. I never thought of that, but hopefully it does work. Because I saw there's a guy on YouTube from down in Toronto. His name is Lee Zavitz. And every time a new phone comes out, a new iPhone, and even some Android phones, he does a camera test and all this stuff. And so it's always a model shoot. And he had this 17 Pro Max in the orange, or maybe it's a Pro, I don't know. But anyway, either one, both the same. I heard him say in his video something about a 48 megapixel portrait mode shot. So I'm just going to see if you can go Pro RAW in portrait mode, because I tend to think that you can't. Let me go RAW 48 and then portrait. It doesn't say, but I just took a shot of like the corner of the room. Ooh, and it has portrait 24 megapixel. So I tend to think that 24 is the most you're going to get with portrait mode. So Anyway, I'll play around with it and see what happens. Okay, so let's go to the chat here. Dale Otherington's in the house. He's got a couple of YouTube videos out showing the Astro work between the Dale, is it the 15 and the 17? And he did a time lapse with his Lumilapse, which was interesting. And Stephen Just looking forward to the live podcast. Hello from Southampton, Ontario. What? That's like 20 minutes from me, man. Seriously. Nice to see somebody close by. So yeah, Stephen, if you're ever coming to Owen Sound, hit me up. Somehow you'll find me. Wilbur has been testing it on Halide. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. Halide's going to put out a Mark III sometime in the near future, I think. And I always do look forward to Sebastian DeWitt's camera review when the new phones come out. So that'll be interesting. And Dale says about the colors, they tend to get the silver because if it scratches, you won't see it as much as because it's silver underneath. That's a good point. That is a good point. And so it has focus issues in night mode. Yeah, that is true. I've noticed that it can swap the selected lens from time to time as well, at least on the first image taken. Selected one times uses the 0.5 with macro control off. So that's interesting. I haven't experienced that yet myself, but
even after focus locking?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Steven, I just recently bought the 16 Pro Max, which he finds excellent. I didn't like the look of the full bump out of the back of the 17 Pro, I guess he's talking about there.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but you know what? It's just another one of those things where Apple did something and they probably say when they design these things, people will get used to it. And I'm already used to it, you know. It's okay with me. I'm fine with it. And so Dale with his videos that he did, the single exposure was the 15 versus 16 versus 17, all Pro phones. And the one with the 15 versus 17 was the Lumilapse time lapse. So a couple of pretty cool videos there to check out on this channel. And as a matter of fact, Dale, I'll put a link to your channel in the show notes. And finally, with Astro, you tend to not lock focus, so you haven't really, I haven't really tried it for that use. Yeah, you don't really usually with Astro in watching Shane and in my experience, you just basically tap on a bright star, and it should focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unless you lock your exposure, the iPhone is constantly trying to focus on everything.
Well, yeah, but if you tap to focus though, it should focus on a star
until something else moves, and then it'll start trying to focus on everything again.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you
can do that, you can do that test. If you have somebody 10 feet away from you and you lock your focus on that person, anybody can walk in front of you, and that focus is going to be maintained. If you don't lock your focus and you just tap on that person, as soon as somebody walks through the frame, your focus is gone.
Yeah, that's true. Dale also says he wishes dual capture would allow 2 separate videos. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. You'd think with the power these things have, they could do that. But I think in that interview that I was talking about earlier, I think they said something about it's more of a fun thing than it is a pro feature, I think. So that's, maybe the next time.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's almost like how Apple's handling time lapse. We would all love, say, oh, we want to select, how long it can be and how much and all these other details. And Apple just says, no, we're just going to give you a time lapse.
Yep.
And if you go too long, we're just going to cap it at a certain thing, and that's all we're going to give you. And we're not going to give you any more. And same thing with the dual camera, which, by the way, the was it a dual cam?
Double take?
The double take. That's still available, and that still works on even older
Mhm.
ones. And that does give you the option of picture or side by side or two separate files.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I tried
And
using that a couple of years ago, I think even on my 13 that I had.
well, it came out with the
and
11, so
yeah, yeah.
right?
Didn't realize it came out that long ago, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because
And
that's when Christopher Cohen
yeah.
was on stage at Apple.
because I was using it actually to try to video an end of a race.
Oh yeah.
So I would video the start line coming up in the video of me running. So I could see something like that where the picture in picture would be useful.
Mhm.
You
Oh
know?
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Or you're showing fireworks and you want to see people's reactions type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't do a lot of video, but I will try it out at some point, I think. Just to try it to see how it works. And the nice thing about it is you can move the little view of yourself. You can move it around the screen, right? And that is reflected in the video. That's if you do that, it's in the video. Like it's embedded in the video. So all right, so let's go and look at some pictures here. The first thing we're going to do is Dwight's going to take us through the range of focal lengths, beginning with the 0.5. And you should be able to see that, right?
Yeah. So this is I didn't really do any editing on these, so just to kind of
Oh,
preface
no,
it,
that's
I
fine.
did. Yeah, I just wanted to get the get the shadows and the highlights right, and get it tonally semi-correct so we can speak about it. So this one's the 0.5 camera, ultra wide.
Yeah. Okay, and we're going to try to spend at least a minute on each of these if we can, because when I put the chapters in for the podcast player, if I go too quickly through those chapters, sometimes they might get skipped in the
Well,
processing. So,
okay, well let me bring up something about the 0.5 then. Sorry,
okay.
Greg. Did you notice any less corner issues with the 17 versus an earlier phone
Nope.
with the 0.5,
No.
or about the same?
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
got a little bit of a vignette on this thing, but no, I didn't notice any differences at all.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
then
this
now
is
the
the
one
one
times.
times. Yep. Happened to catch a bird on the third in line with the boat, and you can see that this is
I like
this
that, the bird on the third. That's good.
so this is the main camera, right? The wide camera, full sensor, right? So this is the one times.
Yeah. Yeah,
And what I wanted to do was I wanted to catch the sunrise, and I wanted to get a little bit of the sun, but it was starting to come up at this point. We had some traffic that was taken away from the boat. You can kind of see the wake there. So
yeah.
the sun had come up just a little bit more, and it was a beautiful morning. It was warm, and it was a nice shot south from Dana Point through heading down into San Diego County down south.
And these are shot in HEIF, right?
No, these are Pro Raw.
These are Pro Raw? Okay.
Yeah, so I did it in Pro Raw 48, and I edited it in Lightroom under the adaptive profile color.
Oh yeah.
Because
Okay.
I don't have my linear profiles yet for the Bayer Raw lenses for these cameras. So
Okay.
I'm either shooting in Pro Raw now or the HEIF.
Mhm. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so I mean, it does a great job of getting the tonal ranges, like the dynamic range is pretty good in these cameras. They've been like that for years, though.
Yeah,
Admittedly.
I had to lift the shadows in both the foreground
Oh yeah.
and the foreground and the sky.
Okay.
It was a little dark. It was darker than it looks here
Yeah.
outside.
Okay. So they're edited slightly, just not a full blown edit by Dwight.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
So
So
what I've
now the
always
2
noticed,
points.
yep, sorry. Yeah, what I've always noticed with these lenses, the farther you pull in, the more color you get. And I really had to kind of lift the shadows, so we can at least see the silhouette of the boat in the foreground and the background. Greg, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 2x lens,
Yeah.
the crop, the digital crop.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Apple does some type of magic to these things, even though they're a digital crop. But anyway, we're just pulling in a little bit closer here. Sun's coming up over Camp Pendleton, and yeah, I mean nothing much different than the other one except for pulling in on it.
Yeah. So now when we go to the 4x, now we're talking a different aperture.
Yes. Yeah. This is its own lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the difference between, I think this is the main difference between the 17 and the 16, because the next dedicated lens was the 5x on the previous one. And I like being back just a little bit further, back at this 4x, or I think it's 100 millimeter range.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot better, I think, than the 5x so far. And I
And
think I'll be able to prove that when I do some different shots with maybe
Yeah.
people in it.
And I've heard a lot of people, reviewers and whatnot, since the 17 came out, talk about how they like the 4x better than the 5x because the 5x just got a little too close.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've been finding that I have to agree with them. I think back at the times when I tried using the 5x, and oftentimes I back up. This is just too close, and unless there's something well off in the distance, then it was fine. But quite a few times I noticed it was a little too close, and with the 4x, yeah, it's a little better focal length, I think. So
Yeah, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I definitely like the 4x over the 5x. I thought that was too big of a jump over the
Mhm.
previous model of 3x to 5x.
Yeah, yep, for sure. And then with the 8x,
Yeah, so this is the 8x. So I think this lens is nuts. I mean, this is an amazing
yeah,
lens, right? And that really pulled in, and I'm still in the same spot where I started from the 0.5.
Mhm.
hmm
And what can I say? I was in a little bit of a hurry here because there's some more traffic coming. I didn't get the boat, centered the way I wanted to in the frame, but it gives you an idea of how far this 8x can pull in. Super happy with it.
And
Yeah.
Dwight, you didn't do any lightening of the image. It's just a matter of you're that close on the boat, and you didn't have the sun in there, so it was so the sun didn't dominate the light dark, so you can actually see details here on the boat where the other ones, the boat in my mind looked more like a silhouette.
Yeah, I had to pull the midtones up in the foreground. And
Mhm.
Greg, maybe I'll do the before and after. I'll send the befores to you for the website,
Okay.
for the Facebook, just to kind of see where it was. This was a pretty dark photo
Oh, okay.
when I first pulled it up.
But I could see your point there, Dave, where you don't have that bright sun, so it's going to meter a little differently, right?
Mhm.
And I would have thought that too. I would have thought, okay, you're getting more shadow detail because that bright
Yeah,
sun isn't intruding, right?
yeah. In
Um,
contrast with the 4x, right? I had to
Mhm.
expose for the sun, which is gonna mess my shadows up a little bit as far as
Yeah.
detail.
Yep.
And I know people are saying there are the nitpickers out there saying, well, this isn't a true 8x optical, it's optical
They called it
equivalent or
optical
whatever.
quality.
Yes.
Optical
And
quality, yeah.
the thing is, like my 5x lens on my 16, it's a 12 megapixel.
Mhm.
Yep.
So the 8x is matching pixel by pixel what my 5x does.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of, and I'm assuming Apple does other Apple magic to make it look better than just a simple crop of the middle.
They
Yeah,
do. They
I've
have
seen
their own magic formula they put on it so they're where they can call it,
Yeah.
digital like, I guess.
Yeah, because I saw people who took, using using a 4x and just cropped it into the middle
Mhm.
to get the same shot, and the 8x, using the 8x setting on the phone, looked better. So it is more than just taking the middle part there. It's taking the middle part and other things going on with. Now, it's not what Samsung has done with AI and machine learning to enhance photos, but it is not just straight, pro raw using the camera app, the Apple camera app. You're not going to get this is exactly what the sensor sees. There's going to be manipulation involved.
Yeah, and I also should mention that I did crop to a 4.5 on all of these, and in some cases I pulled in a little bit farther just to take out some distractions and a few other things. So just keep that in mind when you see the originals.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't imagine you went too far, but even just going 4 or 5 isn't taking a whole lot off, really. It's just a little bit
Yeah.
off each end, right?
And I'm not worried about it in Pro Raw. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a pretty good, run through the different optical or lens focal lengths that they give us. I mean, hey, you could have went even further, and with the 1 times, you could have went 1.2 times, 1.5 times, but then that's getting a little, crazy.
Yeah.
But the idea was to see just the difference between the range that you get from a 0.5 to the 8 times is crazy.
Yeah.
I did the same thing the other day on a walk with the dog. I looked the one street I was on, you can kind of look down a little bit on another part of town, and there was a building off in the distance, and I use that as my center point, like you did with the boat, and I just get closer, 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 closer. It's not as good an aesthetically pleasing photo like these ones of the boat, so I didn't even bother trying to bring them in. But yeah, I did the same thing. But I even went so far as to dial in the 40 times that's capable, like the digital zoom. And yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's not that clear.
When I see people taking pictures and they're doing this,
Yeah,
my tendency is to run up to them and, next thing you know, I'm talking to them for an hour on how you do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And my family's
So
just behind me going, "Oh, there he
yeah.
goes."
So a couple more pictures with the boat, and this is your basically your straight out of the camera shot, Dwight?
Yeah, this is straight out of the camera, HEIF. And what I wanted to do was illustrate the new bright editing option that is in the standard camera or Photos app under the editing capabilities of an HEIF
Yeah. And you can shoot with
photo.
that photographic style too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shot it in, just standard or whatever, and then I
Mhm.
applied the new bright adjustment to it, and you'll see that
Yeah.
here in a second.
So this is the 4 times, correct?
This is the 8. I'm pretty
Oh,
far away from this thing.
oh, okay. All right. Oh, wow. That is impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. So then this is the edited version.
What really surprised me was how it brought the shadows up on the boat. I mean, you may have to go back just to maybe show the audience that one more time. But normally to get, that kind of adjustment, you almost have to isolate that subject and edit it separately. But this thing was able to kind of pick the subject out on its own
Mhm.
and really brought those shadows up without, over exposing the rest of the photograph. And I do notice a little bit of a kind of a orangey rose maybe tint to it. I don't know if that's due to the sun. But I really like how this turned out. Now, unfortunately, Apple doesn't have a histogram, so I don't know if the right side of that boat, the highlights are blown out. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I, I, I got to be honest with you. I love the process of editing raw photos and even Pro Raw if you do it right with the right profiles and stuff like that. But I,
Mhm.
if you want to be quick and get just a nice, edit on something, I need to start looking at these a little bit more and shooting in the Hive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, I know I've been doing it a little more often. Um,
Yeah.
so in fact, I think the next image. Oh, no, okay. So we got the Astros that we're going to go through here first. So I took, these are the Astro shots that I did with. This is the 15 Pro Max. Now, what I did with these is that when I edited the one you're going to see from the 17, I did them in Photomator, and I copied the edits from the 17 into the 16 shot and into the 15 shot. They're all Pro Raw, and in this one, the 15, the color was just so far out to lunch. The 15, in the original shot, was so much warmer than the other ones. Like the color temperature was so much warmer, and so I really had to fiddle around with the editing when it came to trying to get it to look kind of similar to the other ones. So uh, this is the 15, and if you look real close, you might not see it very well on YouTube or in the podcast app, but you can see some blue line here. A little, or
I can
well,
see it a little bit.
I
Yeah.
mean, the blue line I think was more prevalent in the 16. Whether it shows up in my pictures or not, I'm not sure. But there's a little bit of blue showing through here, which is just just crazy why that happens. But so when you go to the 16, you can see a little bit of difference in the color temperature, and this is actually fairly clean compared to the 15.
A little warmer.
It's a little warmer. It's a little, I think it's just a little better quality. Maybe more stars showing through than the 15. And the galactic core. So there's a bit of light pollution down at the tree line. I tried to kind of adjust for that when I did the 17 shot, but it just made a mess of it. So I just left it in. But I just try to edit these to try to get the core to really show well, and while keeping the sky. I try to get the sky as dark as I could without ruining it. And I don't like the transition from the very dark in the top corners down to where it's bright in the middle. I did try a bit of a radial gradient and try to adjust for that, give a little more clarity to the galactic core. And these are about the best I can get anyway with Photometer. And then finally with the 17, I just think there's more detail in the core.
Mhm.
And it does show a little darker than the other ones. But having said that, the light pollution at the tree line is a little more prevalent, I think, here too. But I mean, it's just a real quick Astro test that I did. I think it was it might have been the night that I got it. I went out.
Greg, I don't want to put you on the spot, but why do you think this one's better than the 16, from a
I think,
technology standpoint?
well, I think there's just a little more detail in the core, like in the clouds,
Okay.
like the gaseous clouds or whatever they call.
So not necessarily a difference with the camera?
Well, not a whole lot, not enough. I mean,
Yeah.
if you got the 16 Pro Max and you think you want to go to the 17 Pro Max just for Astro work, don't do it. It's
Mhm.
not worth the money. It's you know, and plus there's the fact that it was hard to focus.
Mm.
I don't know why. I don't know why it did that, but I think it's obviously it's got to be a software thing, because I think hardware wise it should do it. I was able to focus most of the time, but not all the time. But I think in the clouds here, in the real deep part of the core, I think that's where there's better detail. So if I was to go back to the 16, yeah,
Yeah.
it's and again, same adjustments. I didn't do anything different in those two. But I think there's just a little more detail
And it
in the
looks
galactic
like
core.
it keeps it darker further down. I know you said about more. You think there's more pollution on 17. I think it because if you
Yeah,
look between the 16 and 17, the
More of
16 the
a
light pollution shows a little higher.
yeah. Yeah,
where you can
and
see
and
it,
it kind of
it's a little
fades in.
more, yeah, there's a lot more light pollution near the bottom of the core where
Yeah.
that you can see it shows the core darker. And now I will say that means that you do have a harsher line of light pollution down the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It looks more like a framing almost because of the light pollution, where the other one was more of a wash across.
Yeah.
But
I
It's
even
this
more
tried
of
to
a
leaves
paint
you
subtle.
a
more.
Yeah.
yeah, I tried to paint a mask on there to, bring that down a bit, but then by the time the slightest movement of the adjustment, it just you could see where I had the mask. It was just too
Mhm.
visible.
And
So I
I
just
see
left it.
more of a subtle uh, gradation or whatever, if you will, from dark to light on the 17 as well. And I think
Yeah.
you'd pointed out how dark the upper right was on the 16, I believe. But
Hmm.
then again, that may not be camera related. That might be something else.
Well, it could be the difference between how the image gets processed, even though I use the same adjustments. I copied the
Mhm.
adjustments from
Hmm.
the 17 and pasted them into the 16. And it wasn't bad, so I left it. I didn't do anything else to it. I think I could have played around with the 16 image, um, to try to get it a little closer to the 17, but I thought, no, I just want to see how these look. And when the 15 came out so vastly different, then I had to play around with it, or it was a it just looked like a massive failure.
And I
But
mean, and I think one thing we have to remember is that the camera, when we talk about the camera on an iPhone, it's
mhm,
in the past you could just say it's the lens and the sensor is the camera.
mhm,
But now we have to consider the built-in image processing as
yeah,
part of the entire system. So even though the glass isn't changed, the sensor may not be changed between the 16 and 17, the image processing and the image processing chip is all new.
yeah.
So
And they said they
from
improved the photonic engine this time,
yeah.
over last
So
year.
you're going to get pretty much this, even with the same hardware lens, it's going to look different because of the baked in processing that happens.
Mhm, yeah.
It's not even processing. You can't, with the built-in app, undo it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, yeah, it was an interesting comparison. And now when Dale did his testing or his videos, he showed unedited videos or unedited images,
Mhm.
and they looked a lot more similar to each other than mine did, I think. So, I mean, and difference in light pollution. His galactic core goes across the sky this way, as opposed to mine over here. It goes up and down, and it- I think as time goes on through autumn here, we'll get a little more time to get the galactic core before it dips down below the horizon. If I'm thinking right about how it works, but I really wish we had the galactic core going across like they do in Australia. It's makes for such a better image. But so other images that I took, this is like the autumn colors are starting to come in up here now, which is, oh yay! I love this time of year. It just doesn't last as long. And this was, again, Heath images, and I use the amber photographic style. I think I shoot them all in standard, but then I when I did the edit, I put the amber on it, and then that boosts the reddish orange in the leaves, and it even boosted the green a little bit. And so in the slider, I could drag it down to increase the contrast a little bit, and like you said, Dwight, it's getting more and more fun to play with those photographic styles for sure. And the next one I took was these trees here. I every time I go to this place where these trees are, I think I always seem to take that picture of these trees in the fall, because they're always early turning. Some of the first ones that I see usually are these ones here. And again, another amber photographic style. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with the photographic styles last year too. I remember using that a lot. And think that, nothing else special
Well,
done with
great.
that.
That
Mhm.
that one was at the four. Was it a? Do you remember? Was it a 4X or do you remember what
This
zoom you
this was the
used?
2 this was the 2X.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so and the one prior to that was the 8 times. And so then I did a couple with ReeHeld, and I wanted to see how it performed with the telephoto. So these are just at the 4 times, and because you can't go from 4 times to 8 times in ReeHeld. It only gives you the one focal length. And I was so happy with how it performed because I think I mentioned earlier about those crosshairs in the middle. When you're taking a ReeHeld shot handheld, you make sure they don't move too far away from each other. That way, the frames can be aligned a lot more easily. And because it's a 48 megapixel sensor, giving you a 12 megapixel shot, it was really nice and stable, just like the um, what was it? With the 16 Pro Max and the 5 times, it was only a 12 megapixel sensor,
Mhm.
so it had a hard time holding those crosshairs together, no matter how still you held that thing. And I had a lot of times where it would just fail and it would just be all scrambled. So I had to, delete that one and try again. But with this one, it's so nice to be able to have those crosshairs just hold nice and still. You get a nice sharp image. And this was 5 seconds. And then I tried one at 8 seconds of the dam itself. This is just above the waterfall, and boy oh boy, it just nice and crisp and clear. And this one I think was edited with that bright photographic style. No, sorry, it can't be, because with
Yeah, it wasn't
ReeHeld you
hype.
can't shoot. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't shoot height. So no, I just edited it and tried to make it look nice and bright. But so yeah, so that was um, a lot of fun playing with ReeHeld, and I would love it if they could give us the capability to go, to the 8 times type of thing. But I think if they did, then we'd run into that problem with the
Mhm.
crosshairs. Maybe I don't know.
Well,
Um,
I love on the waterfall pic you have open. If you look at the right concrete structure. No, I'm sorry, the other one.
oh,
Yeah,
this one,
the
yeah,
dam one.
oh
Yep.
yeah,
If you look at the right concrete structure, the fact you can see the cracks in the concrete.
yeah,
Even with even with a long exposure photo,
yeah,
the fact that it keeps it where, because normally with long exposure, the little details like that will get blurred out because just even like it said handheld, just a little shaking of your hand.
hmm,
Where here it's like it kept that clear, and
yeah.
you have almost the natural bokeh with the leaves in the foreground being just slightly out of focus.
And the fact that they were kind of moving in the wind too.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah,
probably mention to those that aren't familiar with ReeHeld that this is handheld, and ReeHeld is a handheld application for long exposure.
yeah,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
yeah. Um, just real quick before we finish up, Dale said he wishes Apple would release iPhones too that are winter down there, so they had longer nights to capture instead of 4 to 5 hours a night. Yeah, so we're in autumn in the northern hemisphere. They're coming into spring, where their nights are going to be. Let me see, how's that work? Yeah, their nights are going to be shorter. Their days are going to be longer. So yeah, I get that, Dale, for sure.
But I'll
Um,
say this, Dale, even in at least where I am, even in our middle of summer, the most amount of sunshine you would get, we still don't get only 4 to 5 hours of night. The best, the latest I've seen, at least up here in Pittsburgh, it's maybe if it's completely clear, there's no clouds. It doesn't get dark till maybe 9:30, close to 10, and it gets light at like 5. So we have a good 7 hours at night where we are. Greg, you probably have a little bit less because you're further north than me, but probably not a tremendous amount in summer.
In the summer, yeah. Well, you
So
know
you
what?
probably have a little bit more.
So you guys have July 4th in the States. We have Canada
Mhm.
Day up here, so it's July 1st. And of course, all the fireworks and stuff, right?
Mhm.
They start the fireworks display here in the town I live in at 10 o'clock p.m. And it's still a little light at
Yeah.
that
See,
time. Like, I mean,
we're yeah.
you could walk around and not bump into things. Like, it's not complete nighttime at that time. So,
Yeah.
um,
And
and of
we're
course that's going to be the shortest night, one of the shortest nights of the year,
right.
probably.
And our fireworks start at 9:30 ish, and it's
Hmm.
dark by then.
Oh
And
yeah,
for those on YouTube, I have a cat laying in front of me, occasionally knocking over the camera that I have propped up there.
yeah,
That's why it looks like that's why it looks like I'm in California and experiencing an earthquake,
yeah,
because I have
yeah,
my own orange and black thing here, large orange black thing right here,
yeah,
causing camera issues.
yeah. Well, it's all good. So I did a couple of interior shots. This was with the 8 times. This is looking into the kitchen from the dining room in my house, and uh, oddly enough, there was a blue towel on in between the kettle and the air fryer, basically where that red towel thing is there. There was a blue towel laid on there, and I used the cleanup tool just to get rid of it, and it did it absolutely
Wow.
flawlessly. I was really impressed with that because a lot of times I generally don't have good luck with the cleanup tool, but it did a really good job of that one.
Mhm.
But I'm just happy with and this was kind of low light. I used the bright photographic styles when I edit it, and I mean it's not what you would get uh, from the 48 megapixel sensor. Obviously this is crunched down to 12 megapixels because it's the 8 times. But I thought it did okay. I thought it did a
Mhm.
pretty decent job. I was kind of happy with how it went, and I was sitting at the dining room table, and it just the way the light caught the cupboards and that I thought, yeah,
Mhm.
I got to try this. So that was an interior shot, and then I did another interior shot at the local Montana's, and just where I was sitting, I just happened to look over and got to take this one. So this was at the 4 times, and it was 48 megapixels, and the detail is just unbelievable from that telephoto, and clean, fairly clean, even though it
Mhm.
was somewhat dark. And again, this is the bright photographic style. Other than that, all I did was maybe a slight brilliance adjustment, slight contrast, and slight vibrance. And then I put just a hint, just an ever so slight hint of a vignette on it. But and I cropped it to 3 by 2 instead of the 3 by 4. So it's I'm really digging this telephoto lens. Or this telephoto camera, just especially the 48 megapixel. So something that we haven't discussed, and we're gonna cut this off in a couple of minutes here because we want to keep it down to an hour. But something that I didn't talk about was I used the Reflex 240 on the telephoto with a clip because I don't have a case yet. I have one ordered, and but they're not shipping them out till sometime next month, I think. So the clip, I just put it on, and I thought, okay, please work without being out of focus or whatever. And it was the first picture I took with this phone, and it worked fine. It so the worst thing was trying to line it up. So when they get the case, it'll be perfectly aligned, and everything will be great. Um, but it performed great. So I can get a 48 megapixel telephoto shot with the 240 on there,
Mm.
and it'll look the same as the 8 times, but it'll have better resolution. And that is uh, the whole idea behind using these other lenses on an iPhone It's to be able to use the best sensor and get the different focal lengths. So pretty happy with how that turned out.
Mhm.
And Dale says, thoughts on this spatial photo feature? It's even on RAWs. Yeah. So we talked about this when we talked about iOS 16, and it's when you open a picture, and it could be any picture. It could be a picture you downloaded from the internet. It could be an AI picture. It could be anything, any photo that's in your photo gallery. There's a little icon above it on the right-hand side that's got a little hexagon picture with an arrow, and it's you tap on that, and it creates this um, spatial image where you just move your phone around, and it looks like it's got 3D in behind it. Like it's
Mhm.
so cool because you can use that for wallpapers and stuff too. Um,
And Greg, I think the only way you can output this in general, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to do a screen recording while you're moving your phone, and then like crop the video, and then you can show the video. But you can. I don't think there's a way to make it interactive where, like, Facebook had their 3D feature, which was kind of crappy,
Yeah.
but it had a thing where you could output it and someone could just put their mouse over it and kind of move the image. But I think with this one, there's no way to output the spatial.
Yes, you are correct. It that's the only way you can show it is to do a little screen recording of it. Maybe someday Apple will have some way of sharing these spatial things with other iPhone users. That would be cool.
Mhm.
I don't know if they need to create a new format for that or and
Like a new
maybe I don't know.
wrappers,
Well,
software
I'm
wrapper
just
around it or something. Yeah.
yeah, I'm wondering though if if you could share it with a Vision Pro. Um, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that, but I mean,
I will never know.
I will never know either. Those things they're $34.99 in the US, and that's like closer to $5,000 Canadian, and I don't need one.
Nope.
No.
Don't even
No.
want one. But anyway, so that's our first take on the 17 Pro Max, and we will, continue to try things out with them. And I want to say thanks to everybody in the chat who showed up and at this
Mhm.
oddball time that we did, and we really appreciate it. And guess what? We are over 1,000 subscribers.
Woo!
Yay.
I looked.
Hey,
I think it was this morning. It was 1,003.
there we go.
So thank you everybody
Get
for
your
hitting
get
that
your dog
subscribe
and
button.
cat and everybody signed up. Hey, Greg, one real
Yeah.
quick question before we go.
Mhm.
Would you suggest others upgrade from the 16 to the 17? Here's my opinion. I like that 4 times crop. I just don't think there's enough there yet for those that want to go from the 16 to the 17 from a photography perspective. There's a lot of new stuff on videos. I think that's really cool. I just don't do a lot of videos. But I think this next evolution was more geared towards content creators as everything else is. So my personal opinion, unless you have to have that 410 with that 4 times zoom and maybe a little bit more kind of a machine learning type algorithm that might make your photos look better, I just don't see
Mhm.
that much of a difference.
Yeah, I would have to agree. If okay, so I've said this before. If it wasn't for this podcast, I would not have upgraded. I was on the 12 Pro Max, and then I was on a 2-year cycle. I went to the 14, and then I would have went to the 16. So I would have missed the 15, and I would have missed this one here. I just wouldn't have spent the money on upgrading. And as much of a photography enthusiast that I am, and as much as it would be nice to have the new camera, it would not be worth spending the money on it. Um, I do it for the podcast, and I'm only doing it because I'm able to. I throw some money in a separate bank account every pay, and it builds up over the year, and then that's how I get the new phone. And this time I traded my 15 Pro Max into Apple, and I'm going to get that back, so that really helps. But little secret here that I've been kind of holding until now, but as far as all the viewers and listeners go, is I'm retiring at the end of the year, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get another one next year. So I wanted to take advantage of that these last few years to, while I was working, I can throw that money in the bank. But hey, in my retirement, if I can do it, I will. But I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I will see how it goes. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy the 17 Pro Max, and and I've still got my 16 Pro Max. I kept it as a backup. I'm not on any beta software right now. I'm keeping it to the public release. Most likely we'll do that until WWDC next year. Then I'll put the old one on the new beta or whatever. But yeah, I just, that's the only reason I have updated every year for the last few years, is because of this podcast. And I think it's only fair to be able to talk about it. And answer people's questions, show people examples and that sort of thing. So that's why I did it. That's why I do it.
Yeah, Greg, I think we're aligned on that. And, this very early, I haven't had a whole heck of a lot of time to spend with this phone yet, and, to be fair. So anything that I or we find different, I would imagine we can discuss in additional episodes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep. And and Dave, if you ever happen to hit an Apple store, go and try out that selfie camera and see what you think. Then give
I'm
us your thoughts
curious
on it.
about that. I'm also curious about the Air, because I would say for if you're a non-photography enthusiast, because it does have the 2x optical like zoom. For a lot of people, that may be enough. And I think next year, I don't see a lot of changes to the Pro or the Pro Max. This is just me guessing, me putting on the smart hat and trying to guess. But I'm guessing next year, the big thing will be the foldable phone. And that's what they're going to put a lot of their efforts and a lot of the everything they're going to push will be towards the foldable phone, which will be US probably $2,000.
Yeah, and
so I will not be getting that.
It's funny you mentioned that, Dave. While talking about the Air, in that interview, I think it's Lance Ulanoff. I think that's his name. He asked Jaws, okay, so this Air, this is something really different now. Is this because you've been thinking about going to a foldable device? And you know what his answer was? He said, well, let's just talk about what we have now. So, I mean, why didn't he just say, yeah, we've got foldables on the table at the spaceship in Cupertino?
I would say that he doesn't want to also have people who are thinking maybe not, and then holding off this year, thinking they may have they don't want to do an Osborne computer thing. Oh, we have this great new product. Oh, I'm not going to buy your current product. Then why would I do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, and also it keeps, people are already talking, won't they create a foldable?
Yeah.
So,
I think they're going to
master appeal. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're not going to do it until they can do it without, screen wrinkles and whatever, so. So just to finish off here, Dale says Max Tele Zoom with 240 lens. Greg's getting a moon with an iPhone. Well, the last full moon, I did take a shot with the 16 Pro Max with the telephoto lens on it, and it actually came out pretty good with some serious adjustments in post, but I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, next full moon, if it's cleared, I'm definitely going to try. Oh, and because I used Project Indigo, that was it with the lens, and I went to 10 times. So, but it only gave me like a small resolution file because of that going that 10 times. But anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna tie it off here, and I want to thank everybody again for listening in and playing along in the chat room, and thank you guys for adjusting your schedules to suit my needs here. And next time we will be back on our regularly scheduled time at Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 weeks from now. And thank you for everybody who subscribes on YouTube. We really appreciate it. And now we want to hit 2,000
by next week.
Yeah, by next week. Yep. Like Dwight said, get your dogs, cats, get everybody to subscribe. So, but yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys. Great discussion,
thanks, everyone.
And it
everyone.
was nice seeing you guys. And we'll see everybody on the next one.
Have a great one, everyone.